Hi, I'm Dandy Reiner. I'm from Hatchfinder's Fly Shop in Livingston, Montana. Today I'm going to tie a fly for you called the Pink Lady. It's typically tied in a 12, 14, and 16. Today I'll be showing it to you in the size 12. And I'm using an 8/0 tan. Just want to make a thread base down to hook point. Trim my little tag end off. For the tail, I like to use the whiting tailing pack. And you can use Coq de Leon or dark Pardo. Today I'm using the dark Pardo. And all you need is about 5 fibbits. You want your tail to be as long as the hook shank. And tie it in at hook point. I run my thread up to the eye, cinching in all those little fibbits, and then I bring my thread back down to where I began my tail. The next part is the Biot Body, and I use Nature's Spirit Turkey Biot in the gray olive for this Pink Lady. It's a light colored fly. And I want to tie my Biot in with a ridged body, and that means I have to have my Biot with the clear side facing to my right. Tie it in at the tip. Bring my thread up to behind the eye. I take my Hackle pliers and I turn my Biot. I want the Biot to be with the clear side facing to my right and the ridged side facing to my left. And I start to make my wraps. And you see that nice segmentation start to form with the ridges. You want your wraps to be as even as you can get them. And when you get to your thread, you want to go ahead and tie it off. The next part you want to put in is the wing. And I use a polypropylene floating yarn in the white. The reason why I like the polypropylene is because it dries very quickly. It also floats like a cork. So I take just about an inch or so of the polypropylene and I split it in half. Now for a smaller size 16, I would probably split it into thirds because I don't need that thick of a parachute for a smaller fly. And I go ahead and I pinch it onto my thread. And I bring it up, bring my thread around, and I place that parachute right where I want it, which is about 1/4 of an inch to 1/8 inch behind the eye. Make a couple more wraps, cinch that down. I make some wraps all the way around my parachute, getting it to stand upright. Bring my thread around the hook, getting it good and solid. The next part is the hackle, and I use a hen neck from Whiting Farms. I use the Grizzly, and I've measured this with my hackle gauge. Since I'm tying with a size 12 hook, I want to make sure that I'm tying with a size 12 gauge feather. And I pick off a little bit of the fibbits to expose the stem. I tie that in with the pretty side facing up and the dull side facing down. And the next part is the dubbing, the thorax. And I use a superfine dubbing in the Adams Gray. You want just a little bit. Pinch that onto your thread, and going on both sides of the parachute and also around the parachute, you start to form a nice plump little thorax. With your thread ending up right behind the eye, you want to take your hackle and come about 5 times around. With a smaller fly like a 16, 3 wraps around the parachute post ought to do it. I take my thread, I come all the way underneath my hackle and around that post, pulling my thread taut as I do this, all the way around, and I end up right behind the eye. Pulling my thread pretty taut, I pluck off the excess, and I usually pull back that hackle just a little bit, exposing the eye. And then I go ahead and tie it off, pulling that hackle back so I can see where I'm tying it off. A few good wraps. Cinch it down real good with some knots. Cut it off. Now, if you have a hard time seeing white on water, and a lot of people do, you can use a red post or a bright orange or a bright pink, whatever is easiest for you to see on the water. I just trim up my little parachute post right to where I want it. A little drop of head cement. This pink lady is a wonderful fly. It works as an emerger, it works as a dry. It's perfect for those days where fish are feeding on emergers and dries and you're not sure what to do because it rides in the film, not just on it. And it has a beautiful appearance on the water. Trim off my little excess hackle. And there it is, the pink lady.